Hello, welcome to our podcast Stack More Layers. My name is Maria Janicka, and today I will be talking with Dominika Basaj.
Hi.
And Łukasz Sienkiewicz.
Hi, guys.
Okay, so the starting point of our conversation is the news about Google fighting misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about it? What are your thoughts, and how is Google fighting misinformation?
Well, interesting kind of breakthrough, maybe, in the way they approach using AI. For sure, they have monopoly on search, so it's great that they're taking care of some ethical issues around that.
Oh, so you are focusing not on technology as such, but the fact that they are on this social side of it, or which can have broad impact on society, yes, and politics and that.
Well, it's hard not to look at this that way, I guess. I mean, tech is interesting, probably, behind that. But, the premise on which they did it is important.
I mean, is it really, I'm not sure. Well, there are not that much details concerning their model. At least I don't know them. And it seems that it is rather straightforward algorithm. I mean, this,
you think?
What I am saying should be taken with grain of salt, because, I don't know the details of their implementation and so on. But at least the application is quite limited, because it is only limited to those snippets which are displayed after some kind of searches. For instance, if someone looks for a certain fact, like, I don't know, when French Revolution started, what was exactly this point. Then the snippet, there is a snippet which is displayed about seizing of this Bastille in 14 July 1789.
Okay. Impressed already.
No, I'm not. Maybe I'm mistaken about the actual. It was in 1789 in the summer, but I don't know.
It was the 14th.
It was in July, probably, yes. And so it is quite limited. I mean, it only concerns this, let's say, atomic facts, which can.
Okay, it's interesting that you're saying this, because I had two thoughts. First of all, my first thought was exactly as I said it, but the second one was that actually they're using very big words of fighting misinformation, whereas I have a feeling that they're actually improving their search.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of improving search than...
Yeah, because as you said, it's about this featured snippets.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's not fact-checking.
Mm-hmm.
So they do not check the information itself, but the source reliability. I think so. I'm not sure.
It is based, as far as I understand, it's based on some kind of consensus. The model detects consensus among reliable sources. I don't know
what the consensus is.
Yeah, what the consensus? Yes, the model somehow is able to recognize the consensus, and it has some reliable sources, whatever they are. Perhaps it's Wikipedia is one reliable source, there are others. And, they have this, the main search algorithm is this PageRank algorithm. So it is closely connected, I think, to it's related to this PageRank, because what they are doing is they have some of the pages which are reliable, and if they have many, it was explained very briefly, so it's a kind of sketch in their documents, that they have reliable sources, reliable sites, and if they have many references to other pages, then those pages also count. Model considers also these pages as a reliable ones. So,
and how do you view this idea of this list of reliable sources that is designed by one company to decide?
Well, okay, if you put it that way, then it's kind of scary. On the other hand, when it comes to, when you look for something in Google, when you search something, very often you just cut to the snippet and this is like actually the source of your knowledge if you're in a hurry. So I think it's good that they're trying to mitigate the natural behavior of users. So I think in the example, in their docs, there was an example of when Snoopy, this funny little cartoon dog, when did Snoopy kill Lincoln? And of course, the search returns the date of the assassination of Lincoln. However, the Snoopy did not kill Lincoln. So if you receive this information back, then you can think, okay, so Snoopy actually killed Lincoln at
the day, yes.
At that day.
Yes.
So now they're going to return that there's not enough information.
Info.
Yeah. And from the technical point of view, I think it's exciting that they're using their super large language models again, because they started with BERT in 2019, and now they are using T5. So it's even bigger and more powerful than BERT.
Yes, because they need to somehow they need to unify semantic. Well, there is text which is syntactic, and they need to somehow compare various texts because the same fact can be phrased differently on various pages. So they need this language model for that. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And it's multilingual.
So it is some kind of novelty, as you said, the usage of this very complex and very large natural language processing models, like
and it's multimodal as well.
Yeah,
that's what they said. So you can search for images, text in different languages, as I said. And actually, this phrasing of the same sentence in different manners, it sounds super easy for something called artificial intelligence, but actually it's extremely difficult because these models tend to overfit, just like in images. So for me, as a person who was kind of interested in robustness, as you guys know, it's really exciting that these models can tackle this issue.
Yeah, and also what I think is that because we are speaking about this matching information that is phrased differently, because this is the part of checking for the consensus. So we've got these reliable sources, and to check if there is a consensus, it's not enough how to compare it, because for us as a human, it's like straightforward. We read the text and we know. But if we've got this algorithms, so comparing tokens, so how the sentence or how the claim looks is not enough, because it can be phrased in many different ways. So what you were talking about is just that this technical novelty or something that was interesting here from this I don't know, AI research perspective.
From the perspective of AI practitioner.
Is that they are using these large language models to compare, to look for the same information phrased differently. Okay, that is one thing, and
one need to always keep in mind that this is very limited, because it is limited to these small boxes with just very tiny portion of point-like information concerning certain historical event or some biological facts.
So what they return instantly to the user is kind of improved, right?
Yeah.
and because this is about some source reliability and or maybe not source reliability, because about so this is kind of fact checking actually, because they are checking facts with some reliable sources, between the reliable sources, and they see if there is a consensus or not. And what I was wondering about is how they find these reliable sources. Yeah. That's one thing, because I have a concern that it may not be because of this PageRank algorithm, which is just about links, how pages are linked between each other. So I don't know if there is other method, if there is human curated list of reliable sources, or
I don't think so. It would be super hard.
Or if the reliable sources are somehow
they are probably hard coded.
You think?
I don't know.
Or if they are just sources that are often linked.
Yeah, maybe that may be the case.
Because I was trying to get to this information, but I wasn't able to.
It's not clear.
It's very opaque. Like what's
very serious
how?
concern.
And this is, I think that this is very
important.
Very important, because if we but okay, on the other,
it's on the top of the PageRank algorithm. That's what I kind of understood when I was reading this.
Yeah, me too. But it's a bit. I don't know what is more concerning, if it's like on top of PageRank algorithm, or if there is a person who is if it's human curated.
But it wouldn't be sustainable to humanly curated, I guess. Because you have so many pages, it's not on Wikipedia and so on.
Yeah.
So I guess it's somehow automated. On the other hand, thanks to that, pages that do not have a lot of links will not go up, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that it's about the consensus, so there is no harm in not showing the information that we are not very sure about. The more harmful is to show the snippet that there is not very accurate.
Yeah, well, I think the way they actually really the approach to this problem really well reflects how people use Google search, and kind of facilitates consuming of good information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what are, because
it's like community voting, yes, because the community votes.
What are other ways? Because here we have some kind maybe of fact checking. So we are comparing different claims and see if they match. Actually, it's not a novelty. Sorry, because we thought that this is some kind of novelty. It's not a novelty. There is Fever workshop, fact checking and verification.
I mean, it's a novelty in production. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's
it's not a novelty in general. It's like a huge research area.
Yeah, that's huge research area, and there are these tasks, the workshops conducted each year for fact checking and verification. So that's the one area on research on fact verification and how to fight misinformation. And what are other areas or ways to detect misinformation or fight misinformation?
Oh well, that's a hard one. I guess there are a couple of data sets and a couple of companies that try to tackle that. But apart from a group of passionate people, it's not really. I mean, it's a very active area of research for sure, but it's not on top of everyone's minds because it's not sexy enough, I guess, and there's not enough money in that.
Yeah, I think that the issue that there is with smaller companies tackling this problem is how they will earn money, how they will capitalize on this misinformation detection, because huge platforms and companies like Google or Meta are doing this work by themselves. They prefer to do this way, and there is an issue for the startups that are tackling this problem, that there is actually nowhere to go. There is no path to.
And they're the ones like Meta and Google and so on. Then they're the ones who have data.
Let's say that there will be an organization or company to which you have some kind of trust because they reflect, I don't know, you're thinking that they reflect some sort of quality. So you expect some quality from them. And then let's say that they will produce add-on to your browser. And this add-on will help you, for instance, you can use this add-on in order to, for instance, fact check something.
Mm-hmm.
You read.
Okay.
Well,
interesting.
That's only some kind of my. I imagine how this perhaps will work in a decade or something like that. And then they could capitalize this application or add-on to your browser. You can, for instance, pay for it or something like that.
Especially because when we think about misinformation and fact checking, like very obvious examples come to our mind, like the Snoopy and Lincoln. Like anyone who thinks clearly know that it's not true. But sometimes there are like information which are really hard to tackle and to grasp. I think one of the methods is that they try to like predict super spreaders of this misinformation, and if one person is spreading a lot of this like information, then it's kind of
actually I think that is the most common way to tackle it within startups that are somehow handling this issue. So the way of spreading of information, I think there is a company called Graphica, which is somehow mapping social media landscape, and also Signal Labs, which is one of the 4 startups that got fundings in last year, maybe not last year. There was a study from 2019, I think, to 2022, so this year, which AI startups fighting misinformation got more than $10 million funding, and there were 4 companies, and Signal. It's not a lot, and Signal AI is one of them, and they are detecting Twitter accounts which are probably bots or troll farms. So they approach it from this way. So I think that as I was.
So one way is to look at the propagation of the information and find the sources of this propagation. And the other one is to profiling the Twitter accounts, Twitter users, in order to find out which one of these users have behavioral patterns which are similar to the trolls. Yes.
Yeah. But I think that it's a lot of startups are managing it from this social media information propagation perspective and this social media patterns. I think that's because
Well, even simple rules would actually do a lot of would help a lot, because we've always seen on Twitter some weird accounts with a lot of numbers at the end saying some ghastly things mostly. So even if they would put rules on these accounts, then they would eradicate that.
Yeah. There was a discussion the other day here with Barbara, and we came with the idea that obviously it's not the optimal solution, but it's kind of solution which might be seriously considered by the companies like Twitter who administrate such networks. That each user could somehow authenticate himself that he is by some kind of, I don't know, cryptographic,
But it has other issues.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, certainly it has some issues. Yeah, it has some issues. Yeah.
On the other hand, it's actually pretty interesting. Like, why do these companies even think about spending their resources on these types of things? It should only come from the lawmakers, that they require it in order for these companies to operate. So if the lawmaker, like, I don't know, European Commission or whatever in the United States, does not require it, then probably.
Yeah, but there is also this kind of feedback from society. If these companies are accused of not controlling the flow of information, and for instance, I don't know, Twitter was accused that there were a lot of trolls before the elections in 2016 in the United States, I suppose. So if the company is under such pressure, it needs to mitigate this somehow. So it tries to develop some tools in order to solve this kind of issues.
Okay, but it was twofold. So
it was Facebook probably.
Yeah, it was Facebook, but it started with Cambridge Analytica and all this stuff. Then the public opinion learned about that because there was a lot of news coverage about this issue. And that's when we started to understand that these companies must do something about that. So that's true. It was public opinion as well.
Yeah.
But the law followed, I guess.
Because law, are there any very serious regulations concerning?
I think that there is some recent regulation. European Union's regulation is the Digital Services Act, I think, and it. Let me think. I think it is requiring from platforms to conduct risk assessment if there are any potential harms connected with illegal activities. So some part of it can be hate speech, let's say, or
so
this.
So it's a recent thing.
It's a recent thing, yes, and I think that there is huge hope in developing this legal
procedures.
Because it maybe will make these huge platforms will need to take some actions and
spend more money.
Yeah, and the startups that are already working on this topic maybe will have the opportunity to earn some money, and
Yeah, maybe you're right. Actually, I mean, I think you are right. That it was more of a public opinion. What I was saying came from the fact that I clearly remember Mark Zuckerberg sitting in front of
in
the commission. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and that I kind of linked with the law, but actually, I think that were they fined? Like, did they have to pay anything? Was there any kind of, you don't know?
I don't know.
Either.
No, I know.
But it was a very bad PR
it was certainly it was very unpleasant for him to be there.
And money follows, right? Because probably the share dropped or something.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure, but I can assume that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we already gathered, I think, is one way which is connected with fact checking, but I think that it is limited in a way that we will probably never, because you were speaking about the future, that in the future we'll have these fact checkers.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't believe, because I think that the strongest statement we can make is that there is no consensus among reliable sources. Yeah, it's
it depends on the topic. There are some domains in which there is a consensus. There are some in which if there is no consensus, then it could be highlighted, and it could be displayed that, and the user can be informed that there is no consensus. For instance, that some of the serious sources claim one thing and the other claim the other thing.
Okay, and what are
the
the
opinions are divided?
What are the domains in which you think that fact checking can be the successful approach? So we could say that, oh, that's false. That is false. The fact checker, the system that is checking information, will be able to say that not that there is no consensus, but this claim is false.
Yeah, exactly. I would normally say there was no. Okay, so
I really wanted to hear the answer, because I think that maybe there are this kind of fields of science.
It depends on your maybe approach to science as well.
Let's say it's not. It would be, I think, not controversial. What I would say. Suppose that someone claims that there are many serious scientists who think that climate change is not caused by our industry, or it's not anthropogenetic. I suppose that's the term. And
I'm all for this theory, but it's super controversial in some places.
Yeah, and now let's say that someone claims that it's caused by that climate change is caused by some other factors, maybe.
Okay.
And that there are many scientists who think that it is caused by then it could be fast checked, because there are surveys of papers written by people who are, I don't know, researching this topic, and there is majority of them. It is a consensus among the serious scientists, that the reasons are caused by our industry and by our civilization facilities. So that could be, for instance, fast checked.
Okay, so given that you believe in climate change, then there is a consensus. But
no. The question is if the scientist, if serious, it's not the question of climate change as such. It's not the question if it is caused by our industry. It's a question if a majority of the scientists. What is the opinion among majority of the scientists?
Okay,
and the opinion among majority of the serious scientists who are working, in universities and not.
It's clear.
Yeah, it's rather clear that their opinion is that the vast majority considers that the climate change happens, and that's one thing. And the second point is that they consider it as caused by the factors, human factors, and and that could be fast checked. And one can do with this information whatever he likes. He could still don't believe the scientists, but it will be clear that most of the scientists, at least, obviously there are some serious scientists who think otherwise, and it could be even the concrete percentage of people, of scientists, could be given. Like, I don't know, 90% considers it caused by humans, and 10% or something like that considers otherwise. So and that would be one thing, I suppose.
Okay, but what came to my mind is that it may be because when we have sometimes in science we have some paradigm shifts and things like that are fueling development of science, and maybe the climate change is not the best example to show this, but I think that sometimes we may have the claim that is some recent breakthrough in some field of science, which is not yet agreed upon the scientists, but if but maybe agree later. But I think it's not a big issue. It's like I think that,
most of the population, most of the people will. If this is really rocket science, if I may use this term, then most of the people it will only be in the sphere of interest of the experts, and the experts will have their own opinions and so on. So the general public will not be interested in such stuff, like some breakthroughs in some hardcore science like physics or something like that.
The most harming are the ones that spread fast and they're like malicious. So it's not like someone has not up to date state of knowledge, but they aim to do some harm. So these are the worst. Do you remember that during the presidential elections in the United States, like I think 2 years ago, but I'm pretty sure it was like human annotated, and when Trump was writing something, there was this information that this is not really accurate and you should be careful.
It was on Twitter?
Yeah, it was on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I guess it was kind of a statement from Twitter.
That was a statement. Yes, actually, that remind me when I was working on fake news detection in previous times, the old times, and it was the approach that we haven't discussed yet, but I know why, because it does not work. It was based classifiers based on text features. And in the early era of fake news, some pure stylistic and text-based features may somehow suggest it's a fake news or not, but it quickly changed because the fake news.
So the features were like grammar quality of the text or something like that, or
yes, basically there was.
So the correctness of the language correctness of the
language correctness, and also what part of speech are mainly in the text. There was and also
some emotional.
Yes, some emotional and social terms. There was it was just this stilometric features of the text. But also we checked.
This approach does not work.
It works very well on some data sets, but it's not transferable for different data sets. So from the news gathered in some time period from some sources, it works well. But if you were to apply this model to different kind of data, so basically what you want to do with such model, the results are much worse. So what we also checked is to recognize news by terms. So this n-gram models, and I think that Donald Trump was a very good speaker to distinguish, like the term Donald Trump, to distinguish fake news from the real news or something like this. But it was, of course, it could not be applied anywhere in real life because it was biased by the data and the source from which the data was selected and the times in which the data was selected. So I think that's the approach that we don't have to discuss further.
There are so many flavors of it. So there is like misinformation in long articles released by recognized, newspapers and so on. There's semi-hate speech, semi-misinformation, like these small Twitter accounts which write something not so accurate, but it's mostly more hate speech than misinformation. And and there is misinformation just...
I think the most dangerous is interpretation. If someone really uses facts, but he interprets facts in some way which is supporting his agenda. That's, I think, very
But
dangerous.
this is something you can do nothing about.
Yeah, you can do nothing about it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I think that when this misinterpretation is coming from a single person, it can be influential person and it can be harmful, but still the harm is somehow limited, and basically we can't do anything about it. From this, we can ban someone for having his or her interpretation on facts. But what about the content that is generated, artificially generated?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is this really working? I mean, is it anywhere out there? Apart from deepfakes, of course, like text. Have you ever seen a coherent text that is a fake text? Because this is like a poster example of the wrongdoings of artificial intelligence, but I've never seen anything like that.
Okay, no, I think I've seen a thing
Really?
like yeah. But okay, but I think the more important is that it is doable, and I think that in the near future, if we somehow tackle the issue of not only this natural looking text or human like new looking generated text, but also text that we can govern the content of this text. So, for example, this guy which has this point of view or a facts interpretation that is hard, that can be potentially harmful if we were to create model or somehow govern model to create text in this style or serving this interpretation of the fact that is harmful, it potentially may be very harmful.
Yeah, but I guess so. During the famous elections of 2016, that's what actually happened. They were not creating it, of course, automatically with language models, because I guess they weren't like working.
No, they're troll farms.
Yeah, just people writing some things, and
it was 2016 or 2015. I'm not sure. Yeah, sorry, guys.
Yeah, and like the ones with Cambridge Analytica. So that's what they did. They were not actually spreading false news, but just they were giving you some doubts. So exactly what you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, that might be harmful, of course.
Yeah, and do you think that there are any particular additional harm with having this content generated artificially from as opposed to this human troll farms?
Yeah, so it's probably more of it, more diverse, easier to do, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's the problem is that AI could be made in the future possibly very convincing. So it could write down a political essay which would be very convincing for certain groups of people. And well, that might be dangerous, but it's kind of science fiction right now. Maybe not that.
Okay, but on the contrary, like science fiction, but we have some recent cases where this artificial text generative models convince people. Yeah, two cases. This was the case with former Google worker, claiming that the AI model is sentient. So somehow he get convinced so much by the model that he believed it is sentient. Like, okay, there are a lot of possible explanation of this controversy, and maybe involving not as much the powers of artificial intelligence as some like personal trait of people engaged. But also there is other example. It was GPT 4chan. Yes, you remember this thing that some YouTuber trained,
fine-tuned,
yes,
GPT. Yeah.
There was
on 4chan.
Yeah.
politically incorrect or incorrect like board, and he posted with this bot a lot of posts, and the people didn't get straight away if it's a bot. And also, what is more interesting, when they did get that it is a bot, they're still engaged with discussions with bots that were involved in arguing if it's a bot or not a bot,
So I guess.
Yeah, because he set up more than one.
Yeah.
At some point, he decided that he will deploy more bots. Yeah.
So I guess it
more
simply facilitates creating garbage at scale, because otherwise you would have to, have 5 open tabs and engage with 5 people, and now you can engage with hundreds of people at the same time.
Yeah, and my question, because we drifted away from the main topic, is: are methods for detecting generated content the same as with this misinformation detection, or generated content using misinformation? Because
I'm not sure it's really.
It's very. I think it would be very hard, because let's say that there is some sort of political essay and you read it and you find it convincing. Then it doesn't really matter who wrote that essay. If the arguments in the essay you find arguments in the essay convincing, and the reasoning within this essay convincing, then it shouldn't really matter who wrote that essay. Yes, if it was generated by some artificial intelligence, or if it was written by a real person.
Yeah, but it could ignite, it could give fuel to some bad ideas. Because write something, it's super easy to write something out of, taking exactly from people's minds. So, for example, you train something on 4chan, and then people on 4chan, they kind of feel, oh, this could be my idea. And then the vicious circle starts.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with you that it doesn't matter who wrote that, but I don't like the fact that it's so easy to feed the content to people. On the other hand, from that, I think you were asking more about technical perspective, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there is. I haven't seen a research on classification of generated content. I think it might be pretty easy, because underlying there are some. First of all, you would have a lot of training examples, which is amazing, and I'm pretty sure there's some kind of. There's a formula.
I think that some approach is, I don't know if it's the most recent approach, but the way of approaching this issue I know is to check how probable this text is according to generative models. So if you take, for example, GPT-3 and look how if
it's super probable, then
that's so to rephrase it, maybe text written by humans are less probable than text generated text, because that is how you train model to generate text. So that's somehow it's one way to approach this, I know, but it's interesting because it is somehow, I think, a separate issue, because I was wondering while preparing to this conversation, is because it can influence the landscape of misinformation, because you can spread misinformation easily using these models to generate a lot of false information. But on the other hand, the real struggle, there is the harm of this generated text is somewhere else, as you phrase it. So not in the information content, but in in interpretation of what's being and mimicking somehow the language of a given group to make it really appealing to them. Okay, so I think we tackled a lot of different topics. So from different types of
But the topic is not exhausted. There are a lot of things to say on the topic, I think, which we did not touch. And yeah, it's I don't think that I have some more to add, but for sure there are a lot of things, a lot of other things to say about this.
Yeah, okay, so we can arrange the follow-up conversation, and maybe we can just like zoom in and focus on one of these aspects if we are interested in it. That's a good idea. But yeah, for now, I think that we should come to an end, and maybe just to sum up quickly, we covered different types of misinformation detection, from fact-checking, the patterns of spread of the information in social media, and also the issue of interpretation of true information, which is like really harmful, but actually not like even less easy to tackle. And at the end, we covered this generated text issue. So yeah, that's a lot. And I think that there is hard to have one opinion on what is the best approach. How do you think? Because because different fields probably will have different types of the different method will be easier to use, as you said, with this scientific approach or scientific fields of science. The fact checking may be the right approach to see if there is a consensus. And with news spreading in social media, I think that not always fact checking will be the best approach, because news are some kind of new information that is may not be agreed yet, and so maybe here this
malicious or not would make more sense.
Yeah, and the spread of information, probably how where it originated and how this spread.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yes, and the future will show us what we've generated. Text. Okay, so it will be, I think, a wrap for us, and this idea to meet next time to focus on some particular topic.
Yeah, subtopics.
Yeah, is something to have in mind. So thank you very much for today, and see you next time.
Yeah,
Bye.